What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? You're on another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. JP, Quentin, and Caleb. What's up, guys?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Training camp cannot get here fast enough. We're like, what, a week away? A week and some change away?
Feels like a
Basically.
month, but it's a week, yeah.
Week and a half.
Drive me crazy, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think rookies and quarterbacks report next Wednesday.
Yep, a week from today, basically. Yep, next Wednesday. And then it just basically starts up. And I think rookies and quarterbacks, and I think the injured guys, so those guys who possibly could end up on the PUP list, physically unable to perform list, will be there. So we can expect guys like Snead, and there's a couple others off the top of my head I can't remember, that will be there. But from looks like it's going to be a good time. We're almost through the dog days of summer. We're almost there.
Yeah, well, at least we had the home run derby. Yeah. Anyway,
it's the worst sports week in the United States.
It really is.
No, there's literally nothing going on. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
UFC. Oh, never mind.
Well, there was a chess match on ESPN.
Oh, I'm so happy. It really get my athletic itch going. Watching a couple of monks move pieces around.
Yeah, their fingers are pretty strong, though. You know. It's just
they have professional thumb wrestling. That's what they need to start having.
Hey, during the pandemic, I watched marble racing. So
marble, okay,
marble racing. Yeah, I watched marble racing on ESPN because there was literally nothing else to do because there was nothing else going on. So I watched like a dozen marbles get put on a track.
Okay.
NFL Network has been playing the same games over and over and over again. I mean, they've played every game from the 2022 season twice now because they have nothing to talk about. It's just repetitive bullshit.
They just need to start replaying Super Bowls from years past.
Yeah, that's all they can really do. That would actually be a little bit more exciting. I mean, hell, do highlight. Anything's better than what they're doing. I mean, this is so boring, but whatever. Yeah, it is what it is.
Next week, the list comes out from the top NFL top 100 that voted by players. That comes out next week. I was like, man, I think it could come out this week.
That's a good point.
I could use that the whole week. I just would have extended that bad boy. We'd have been like, number one, Patrick Mahomes. How great is he? And then the next episode, we could be like, Chris Jones, number 8. It's pretty baller.
Or they put Chris Jones as number 33, and we're like, really?
Yeah.
So every year, it seems like it seems like it's a popularity contest in some aspects, but
and a jealousy contest.
Well, maybe. But I think at the end of the day, what we see with the NFL 100 it's great. But ultimately, like Quentin said, if you can't put Mitchell Schwartz on there, then I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
You know, look, man, a lot of it has to do with this has been the same shit forever. A lot of it has to do with if a player likes another player, if they have respect for another player. That's the one main thing. If you've got, guys that are somewhat mature on their voting, if you got Chase out there saying Pat who, where he's going to put Pat somewhere not even on the top 100. So it is what it is. It's a popularity contest. It's a who's got the bigger wang contest, and that's really about all it stands. It is. I mean, it's nice to see the adults actually vote on the good players, the ones that they play against all the time, but that's rare, especially now that the league's so young. Everybody's just so young now. I mean, it's crazy. There's a few older guys left, but
the old generation's gone, basically.
It is. I mean, it's like, you got a bunch of 22-year-old kids out there.
Well, once Roger leaves, then we're officially in a new era, technically.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we got a few things to go over. Who wants to kick it off?
Well, I'll go. Go ahead, Quinn.
Okay, so I want to.
Well, don't fight about it, Jesus.
About which player is going to become the next All-Pro. So there are currently 6 guys on the roster who have received first or second team All-Pros in their career. The list is as follows: Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Tommy Townsend, Joe Thuney, and Creed Humphrey have all in their career received some version of an All-Pro. And I wanted to ask you guys if you could come up with one offense and one defensive player that you think is going to be the next guy to receive an All-Pro vote in their career.
Okay. I can go and go first. I mean, for
Go ahead.
defense, the player I believe who's going to get that vote, I think that's going to be L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, he's been fairly consistent over the last 3-4 years he's been with the team, has done a lot of great things, has been pretty much a great shutdown corner on the outside, but also in the inside as well. So I believe he has a really good chance. Year after year, he continues to prove himself. He does occasionally have that one bad game where he gives up 2 touchdowns and basically gets spun around. That happens. It was Jalen Ramsey. It happens to him, but I think L'Jarius Sneed could really ultimately get that all-pro vote. And I think it could be, especially this season, going into a contract year. We all know the contract year is undefeated. And since it's undefeated, we see players just play out of crazy levels. Example, D4. We all remember that time period. So we see things like that. Also, when you look at the offensive players, I mean, there's a lot to choose from. I believe personally we could see an all-pro player such as maybe Pacheco, if he can have another great season like he did last year. He's now kind of entering his prime. When you look at running backs, however, the issue is that the wear and tear on the body. And that doesn't happen until like year 3, year 4. And he was relatively healthy. I'm saying that in air quotes for those who are listening. Audio, the reason why I'm saying he air quotes and saying healthy, because he played pretty much the whole playoffs with a broken arm and a torn labrum and played very, very well. If he can go through this season and do very, very well and put up 1,000 yards, let's say 1,000 yards rushing, let's say 300 to 400 yards receiving, that is definitely an all-pro player in his second year. So when you look at guys like Pacheco and Sneed, kind of the future and the way things are working out, I believe that this could really help the team take a turn, and also show how much you need to put in your draft stock as a whole as well.
I like both of them. I'm going to go with Nick Bolton on defense. I feel like he's due. He's ranked top 10. What is he ranked? 7th, really, isn't he?
I think so, yep.
Yeah, 7th. He's going into his 3rd season. I think he's going to get it this year. He should have gotten it last year, to be honest with you. He really should have. He played lights out all year long. And he went relatively injury-free. And if it wasn't his first season, if it wasn't for Hitchens, he would have.
Yeah, he led the league in tackles, and he only started like 11 games.
Yeah.
So when he was on the field, he was very, very productive in what he was able to do.
What an effective guy. I mean, just absolutely insanely effective. This is probably going to be, I don't know, probably on offense, it's probably not going to be well taken, but I'm going to go with Justin Ross. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with – I did that for Quentin's sake.
I was waiting for it. I was
like, oh, no. Who'd you got off?
You know, I think I'm going to go with McKinnon.
You think he could get an all-pro vote if he –
I think he can, man. Look, dude, the guy did things last year that nobody else did. Okay? So I got an NFL record for what he's done. What's up, Chiefs Live? For what he did last year. And if he steps up and has another season like he had last year, why wouldn't he be an all-pro? Or second team all-pro? The guy's 31 years old. He's had a really rough ride up until he came to Kansas City. It's his 3rd season, going into his 3rd season with Kansas City. I feel like he's you're on your way back from Vegas and you didn't even say hi. Whatever, Chiefs Live. I see how you are. Anyway, I just feel like he might be able to do it, man. I think he's going to have a good season, especially in the receiving area.
Well, give me a stat prediction just early. What do you think it's going to be?
I think he's going to have.
Okay.
I think he's going to have at least a minimum of 7 touchdowns, maybe
receiving 8. And rushing, or just receiving.
I think it might just be receiving. Because they've got what they need in the backfield.
Okay.
I feel like he's going to probably have minimal rushing yards. When I say that, he may have 300 or 400 rushing yards.
Okay.
But I feel like he's going to have more receiving yards than he has anything else. And the way he blocks, I don't know, man. I just feel like he could do it. He's an all-around player. Never got a shot at anything. Now he's got a ring, and he wants to go for 2. You know, if he does what he did last year and helps this offense the way he helped it last year, there's no stopping the guy.
Okay.
So
that's a fair point. That's a right. What do you got, Quentin?
So I think I'll just start on I'll just start on defense, keep the trend going. My immediate thought, I think I'm gonna go with Trent McDuffie. Look, we saw a little bit of him and his quality of play towards the end of the year. Obviously, he missed a good chunk of time because of that lower leg injury that he suffered early in the year. I believe was it a hamstring? Something.
I believe it was like a lower leg injury.
Yeah.
Something
right.
early in the year on that garbage field that they have in Arizona. But by the end of the year, if you were to say that Trent McDuffie was the best pure coverage corner that Kansas City has, I think you can make a real argument for it. So I would say that on the defensive side, Trent McDuffie is a really fair point. The problem is that he's got some guys to go up against. There's a lot of really good, especially really good young corners in the AFC. Sauce Gardner. Now you've got Ramsey's back in the AFC. So there's some tough competition at the corner position in order to become the cream of the crop, the top tier guys. But if he's able to cover some of the guys that he's going to face. And, if we think that this defensive line is going to get the level of pressure that we're expecting from them, maybe he's able to get a couple more interceptions because of the pressure the quarterbacks are going to be under. I think you can make a real argument that Trent McDuffie is going to be, one of the best, if not the best defensive player on this team moving forward. I really, truly believe that he's capable of it.
Looking at his stats, he had 44 combined tackles and 16 assist tackles and 1 total sack. So he hasn't got an interception yet. He's got a sack, but it looks like, and I agree with you, Quinn, he could elevate what he did from this past year to this year coming up. And that's very, very possible, especially being in the scheme a second year and learning stuff. I don't think he's going to have a quote-unquote sophomore slump. I think he's going to have a rise, per se.
Yeah, and the problem with predicting the cornerback room specifically is that it is so volatile, but maybe that benefits him. Maybe Sauce Gardner doesn't have this, blowout season again where he just looks like the next Revis Island. Maybe he takes a little bit of a step back and Trent McDuffie on his side continues to improve and, looks better. So because that position is so volatile, maybe that ends up benefiting him, and so he ends up getting that Pro Bowl nod.
And I agree with that too, especially with the strength of schedule situation. Given what went on last year, we had and going to this year. What's up? We got to move on. Who's this? Who we got here? UJ Sports Nation Network. What's up, man? What's next for CEH? Another team.
Let's get through this, and then we can talk about CEH.
Yeah, we'll talk about that just in a minute.
I've got 2 on the offense. I'll start one with one that I think is a realistic option. I'm going to go with Trey Smith. I know it's kind of boring to say an offensive lineman is going to get all-pro nods, but Kansas City already has 2 of their offensive linemen receiving Pro Bowl nods, Creed Humphrey and Joe Thuney. Trey Smith is right in that interior. We're constantly talking about how good this interior is, and if this offensive line is going to be better, I do think part of it has to be, the interior still has to play at that top-tier level. And Trey Smith might end up getting that nod because if this offensive line is the best offensive line in football, maybe he becomes the best guard in the league. Maybe he becomes the best right guard in the league. So maybe it's Trey Smith. My other one, sort of my sneaky one that I don't know if I truly fully believe yet, but the Chiefs certainly seem that it's possible. Kadarius Toney. Yeah. Right? If Kadarius Toney is the guy that they think he is, we know the targets are going to be there. Right? We know he's the number 1 wide receiver. We know the targets are going to get there. All this assuming he stays healthy. And the skill set's there under a full season with Patrick Mahomes in this offense. If he's able to get 1,500 yards and a good amount of touchdowns, maybe we're talking about Kadarius Toney looking like one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And we know that at least some of this stuff is narrative driven. And if Kadarius Toney comes out of the gate looking like one of the best wide receivers, where in New York he was a draft bust. Man, that would be a great thing for the writers to have an opinion on, and maybe Kadarius Toney gets one. But that's my dark horse, sort of long shot.
And he wasn't a draft bust for himself. It was the Giants that screwed that up. They had a great player.
Giants looked at him as a bust. I mean,
they're idiots. So I mean, if they looked at him as a bust, they're stupid because what he did with us in the first 3 weeks of the season or of his season with us, they should have known they screwed up. They did something wrong because he's lights out a great player. And if he somehow eclipses Tyreek Hill's numbers from last year, holy shit.
I mean, I like what he's done. I mean, I wouldn't say he's Tyreek. Speed is one thing I don't think he really has per se next to Tyreek, but I believe his route running is probably a step maybe above some of the others. And I think if it can only improve upon, then we can start putting him in the discussion because I think he can do a lot of great things. But my concern is, and I think Quentin has said this before, and I think JP you agreed with, is just injury concerns. Now, granted, he's had an entire offseason. Let's hope it works out there. But injury concerns was a little concerning to a lot of us because he had all these soft tissue injuries. And we see that that's hurt a lot of teams. Now, guys like Tyreek Hill was able to drink some pickle juice and was able to be good. So for those who remember the Chiefs versus New Orleans game, he drank some pickle juice and was fine. He would play a bunch. Tony, I'm not really for sure, and I'm not saying I'm not sold on him, but that's my concern. So in the event the Chiefs are to add an additional wide receiver who's more well solidified in the league, it wouldn't hurt as a backup plan just due to all this. But I think Tony can do some things. His ceiling is high. I believe that personally, but it all comes down to can his body hold up?
I'm not as concerned with his injury issues as everybody else. I mean, is it concerning? Of course, it's going to be concerning for anybody. I'm not as concerned as I would have been a year ago. And I honestly don't think he would have had as many injuries if he'd have been with us if each would have been able to draft him when he wanted to, out of college. It's just they've got a terrible medical staff in New York. Everybody knows that. That's not anything that's not, it's all over the place. Everybody knows that. So it's one of those things where you have to look at it from both perspectives. He didn't have any soft tissue injuries after he came to Kansas City.
Well, he tweaked it.
Well, he tweaked
and he
his
had
ankle.
Tight hamstring.
That's all he had.
But that was
was
from there, though. That was kind of the injuries. They linger like that. They're gonna it doesn't go and then come and then stop. It lingered some.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think his ankle was a big deal. I think it was just a little bit of a tweak, and they held him out just to make sure.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I mean, he came back in the biggest game of the year, had a touchdown, had a long punt return. I mean, without Tony, you can argue the Chiefs may or may not be able to do what they did 5 months ago. So,
and that's true. I mean, honestly, when they took him down, when he kind of ran out of gas, is what they called it. I don't think he ran out of gas. He was just looking for a lane there towards the end when he got down to the 5-yard line and they put him on his back. I was really surprised he didn't get a concussion as hard as he hit his head because he went down really hard on his head. On the back
he might have, but the adrenaline was pumping, so
it could have been. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Let's do this really quick. Let's answer a couple of these questions. Where'd it go? He said, "What's up for CEH?" I think CEH is probably going to make it through. I don't even know if he's going to make it through training camp. They're still trying to trade him. If he does for some reason make it through training camp and outperforms, what's his name, Prince?
Yeah, Prince.
Prince. He may end up somehow back on this team, but I'm having a hard time believing it. They've tried to trade him 3 times. Twice during the regular season and then once during the draft. And nobody wanted him. So I don't see him being here. You just never know. I mean, there's an option out there right now to trade him to a team that wants him for another player. It's all about how the money's going to work out right now. And if that works out, we've talked about this on prior shows, if that trade does work out, he's going to go to a coach that likes him and he likes that coach, and we're going to get a defensive edge that is well worth the trade. That's what I think is going to end up inevitably happening if they can work the money out. And it'll almost be inevitably an even deal if they can work the money out the way they're trying to right now. I just don't. To me, he's not going to be here. But
I mean, I like CH. I mean, he's done some great things, but the issue has been injury concerns. Just staying healthy. He'll have a good stretch, and he gets hurt, and then he falls out of the rotation. That's pretty much what happened this past season. And it's kind of at the point where it tells you a lot when they decline his fifth-year option.
Yeah,
And he
that's
wasn't
the
the only
thing.
running back to have his fifth-year option decline. I mean, yes, it's not nice. I mean, it sucks. But unfortunately, the Chiefs believe they can find better talent for cheaper, specifically
And they
undrafted
have.
free agents like Prince, or
Yeah.
they can bring in the next McKinnon or the next Gore. I
Yeah.
mean, we've seen it happen these last couple years. So as much as I would like for him to come back, I just don't see the Chiefs giving him that money because of the injury issues.
He's already
this-
like a
Mhm.
top 15 paid running back in the league
Yeah.
because he's a first round pick.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that it's hard to say like him getting traded. I know that they've attempted to, but if you're another franchise, why would you trade for him? Because Kareem Hunt's still out there.
That's a
Calvin
fair point.
Cook is out there.
Mhm.
I think Zeke is even still out there.
Yep.
So there's
I
like,
think the only one team would trade for him just because of the familiarity with
Yeah,
the
Washington.
offensive coordinator.
But the
Correct.
Washington could go after Kareem Hunt because of the enemy. The ties are there.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I
that's
just,
true.
I think it would be great for both parties to send him on his way. I just think that it just doesn't. I think the time is sort of up for him in this offense being here, and then it would just be good for everybody to sort of
Mhm.
go their separate ways. Thank you for your service. Move on. But I just
You
don't
got to
know
look
if
at it too when
realistically
you say that.
if it works there. Plus, Kansas City, specifically Andy Reid, loves that running back depth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, here's the thing.
But the investability is availability, Quentin. And you
I know,
said
but
that.
think of how long they kept Ronald Jones on this roster and without doing
Yeah.
anything. Hell, they went out and got Melvin Gordon, and
Yeah.
he just sat on the practice squad. You know,
And got
when
a
he
ring.
cut
But
from the
we knew they
Broncos.
were going to be there for the most part.
I know,
Clyde is
he-
like a coin flip, 50-50.
If
Ronald-
CEH isn't playing right and he's just sitting on the roster, he's
Mhm.
healthy. So in a pinch, you can use him. So I do think that
Mhm.
Kansas City values just having that guy there.
That's a fair point. Now, I'm going to rebuttal with that and ask you this, Quentin. Who could they – I mean, we obviously know there's a couple trade partners, but do you think if you were the GM, would you want him sitting there basically collecting a check not to play?
No.
I personally believe you got to move on from now. This is another thing. Do we know his cap hit? Because if the Chiefs were
million.
to cut him when it comes to after training camp, now the question is this: you could do a similar trade, kind of how the Chiefs were able to get Charvarius Ward, trade Parker Ingram to the Cowboys and got Charvarius Ward in return. We could see a trade possibly like that happen. But I mean, that's kind of a big profile. I mean, if he makes it out of camp, I think there's only a small percent chance he makes it the first week of the season. If he makes it the first week of the season, I don't see him going anywhere else unless there's a team that absolutely needs running back help. He could very well be kind of similar to how we saw a trade happen last year, Rashad Fenton. I mean, he basically got cooked by, I forgot which receiver was watching the game the other day. He basically got cooked against the Devontae Adams against Monday night against the Raiders, and he was gone like 2-3 weeks later. So I think we very well could see a trade something like that happen, just up with a team with running back depth. But honestly, I just believe it's really up in the air at this point.
Well, looking at the running backs that are out there right now in free agency, yeah, there's some great running backs out there, but you also have to look at it from a monetary standpoint. Yeah, there's a Kareem Hunt tied to Eric Bieniemy, but Kareem Hunt's going to require a lot more money than CEH.
Oh yeah, he's
and he's younger. So CEH is younger, and if he can get into an offense that he's familiar with, and we can get a great defensive player out of it and do a trade, a pick trade, fifth for a sixth, I think that would be a better option for Washington, and from a financial standpoint, than to go out and get a Kareem Hunt or a Cook or whoever else is sitting and because they're going to. I mean, look, man, those Kareem Hunt's going to get $7-8 million a year.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of pushing it, to be honest with you. I only see him getting in between 3 and 5.
I can't see it.
How?
I can't, because he's too good. He's too good of a player. He's too seasoned.
I understand, but with the Browns, his value has greatly diminished, especially this
Well,
last year.
But anybody that's got any brains will understand that he was on a rotation with Nick Chubb, and he was the backup to Nick Chubb. Every time he stepped on the field with the Browns, except for the little injury issue that he had, he performed, and he performed very well. He performed like he did when he was with us. I feel like he could get $7 million a year somewhere. Look, if the going rate right now for a running back in franchise tag is $10 million, he can get 6 to 7. I just feel like he can.
I feel like
that's just me.
5 is, I just feel like 5 is a cap. Quentin, what do you think?
For who? Kareem Hunt?
Yeah, Kareem
Yeah.
Hunt, what would you say his value is right now? I say
I-
5 is his cap. JP says it's up to 7.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if 7 was the number, I would take the under on it. I would definitely take the under on it, just because the closer we get to training camp, I think the more the leverage turns for the team and not the player. I mean, do you really think Carlos Dunlap wanted to get paid as little as he did? No, he would have
He made
much
more
rather
money
signed
than
a
some
bigger
of them,
deal,
though.
but that's just the way that it works out. And the closer you get to training camp, the less money that's available anyway. So even if your value is, let's say hypothetically, his value was $10 million at the start of free agency, teams don't have $10 million. So it doesn't matter what your value is, that money is simply not available. So, the only way I could see that is if one of these star running backs on a mediocre team gets hurt, and then a team gets desperate to sign you. So, like, if for some reason Derrick Henry decided, if he got hurt and the Titans really needed that next guy, then maybe. I know that Alvin Kamara just got hit. He just dealt with his off the field issues and paid a civil suit an undefined amount. So he's going to get suspended 6 games, probably 4 to
Not
6
8,
games,
yeah.
probably. So maybe one of these running backs signs with the Saints to help take up 4 to 6 games. But yeah, I just don't know. The running back market in terms of trade value and just overall contracts is so messed up right now that to determine the value of what a guy's worth on the trade market and when they're free agents is just so convoluted to me that I couldn't give you a straight answer. Because while I agree with you about technically Kareem Hunt was the backup to Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt is a starter on like a dozen teams.
Oh, if not more, yeah. Yeah, he's a great player. I would have not complained if he came back here. Not now, but I mean, last year, prior to us knowing what Pacheco could do and the fact that McKinnon played the way he did, I was hoping he was going to come back here. And he had the green light to come back. I'm kind of surprised that didn't happen. But, at one point he asked the Browns, because he wanted out, he asked the Browns for $10 million. He wanted to renegotiate his deal he wanted $10 million a year. He knew he wasn't going to get it, but he wanted
basically like, what can I do to push myself out of here?
Exactly. That's exactly what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel like he's one of those players that you can count on for sure. And financially, for the Commanders, the football team, whatever the hell they call themselves now,
the football team in the Washington metropolitan area.
Those guys, them. I feel like financially it would be better for them to go with with the CEH, just simply because they're getting rid of a player they want to trade. They want to trade anyway. If they can get out of it relatively smooth, not have the cap hit, we do the same thing. They get a player they want, we get a player we want. It's relatively, who cares if we trade a 5th for a 6th? We got an extra 5th coming anyway. So who cares if we trade a 5th for a 6th? If we can get that deal done. And then also make the contract work where it's almost an even deal. Because they're both getting paid relatively. You got $4 million going to why can't I think of his name right now? The edge rusher. God, I'm tired. From Washington.
Chase.
Yeah, to Chase. You got $2 million going to CEH for this season. So why not split it down the middle? Say, okay, well, we'll give you a 5th. You give us a 6th in return. You eat 50% of his contract. We're still at $2 million. We're still paying $2 million. We're getting a lot better player. I just feel like in a position of need compared to what we don't need another running back per se right now. We've got a great group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think CEH is going to be that much. I mean, to me, he's the Ronald Jones of this.
Yeah, if he's on the roster,
running back room.
He's a bench warmer.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely a bench warmer. Or if he's on the roster at all, he's a bench warmer. So why pay somebody $2 million to sit on a bench? I just don't see it being, worth it. But that's just me. There was one other question he had. He said, is D-Hop even worth it? In my opinion, not for what from what I'm understanding and what the Browns offered him, there's no way in hell he's coming to Kansas City. If he's not ring chasing, he's bag chasing. He's not going to come here for what we're going to offer him. Not going to happen. Not with what the Browns have already offered him. And from what I understand, it was $15 million with incentives. So if he goes there, more power to him. Where he's not worth $15 million in this offense. Not with what we've been able to do with the players that we've had. I don't see him being worth $15 million here. So
I don't care what they pay him if it's a 1-year deal.
Mhm.
Right. My problem with, let's talk about the Odell Beckham deal for a minute. And I promise this comes back. It's a, turnaround.
Oh, I believe it does.
The Odell Beckham Jr., the problem with it is it was $18 million, but they tacked on like 4 void years on it. So it's not really a 1-year deal. He only plays in Baltimore for 1 year, but they're paying him 5 years worth of a contract
Mhm.
because of those void years. They split it up over that 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like $15 million a year, but it's really not $15 million.
So
a
it
year.
looks like it technically it's an $18 million contract. He's playing there for 1 year, but the money is split up. He's like getting paid $3 million this year and $5 million this year, whatever, however the math adds up. I don't have the contract in front of me. So if Kansas City comes up and they find the money and they say, DeAndre Hopkins, here is $12 million this year, and that's it, I don't care. Because a 1-year deal, no matter what it is not going to hurt you next year. Because the
Mhm.
money's off the books. It
Yep.
doesn't matter. So as long as that contract doesn't have like that finagly stuff where it's like, okay, he's playing here for 1 year, but we've got 3 years worth of void years at the end of it. I don't care what they do. If he comes here, he comes here. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I think that obviously DeAndre Hopkins coming here would be great because you basically give Patrick Mahomes a true number 1 receiver, right?
Mhm.
We don't know if Kadarius Toney is a number 1 receiver. We
Yep.
think we do. We've seen the talent. We've seen it on the field for about half a dozen games or something like that, like
Mhm.
6 games-ish, including the playoffs. We think he's there. Okay. Now, obviously, this conversation, Travis Kelce is the guy. But if I can give you a second guy, if I can give you DeAndre Hopkins and shift back everybody else on the depth chart,
Mhm.
I mean, you feel fantastic about this. You would feel fantastic about it. You might as well. You're giving the Chiefs the AFC West. You're giving the Chiefs a ticket to the Arrowhead Invitational,
For the
right?
6th year in a row.
Yeah, I mean, you're feeling fantastic about this receiving group, and we're all moving forward. Now, without him, you start to, the question marks start to come back because it's like, okay, you need to like, ooh, is Kadarius Toney, is he going to be healthy for all 17 seasons? Probably not. So there are going to be some games where you're going to be like, I hope the injury bug doesn't hit us the wrong week, because there's a chance that, even with Patrick Mahomes, if Kadarius Toney and one other of these wide receivers are hurt, for multiple weeks, it might be slim pickings in this
Mhm.
offense. And if a DeAndre Hopkins is here, I don't feel like that at all.
And
Because
that's
you're getting the whole depth chart back.
And I agree with you there, Quentin. I mean, I like Toney, but if you have D-Hop, there's at least some stability. Now, when Juju came in, Juju has proven for 3-4 years. KT has only been proven for half a season. So that's why I personally wasn't as worried. And plus, we had a couple other guys. But now, since it's just kind of KT and Kelce and all the other guys, I'm like, I don't know if D-Hop, it comes down to, does he want the ring or does he want money? And I can't fault him if he wants some money, but it's like the Chiefs, if they can get this Chris Jones deal done and get this extension by this Friday, they could make, I think, a good pitch to him where it's not $15 million a year. Maybe it's anywhere between 7 and 10. It's a 1-year deal off the books. Give the Chiefs a little bit of finagle, some cap room, some stuff to roll over if need be. I would feel more personally better because I know in years past, us Chiefs fans, we kind of look at the roster and we'll see guys, like Darius Fountain. I think you had Chase Daniels in there, there's other guys, and people were saying, oh, this group can win the NFC East. Obviously, that's not true, but we see is we have some quality depth, but the issue is, can this depth come and help us in situations where we think, it's about to go real. Toney just tweaked an ankle, and Rashee Rice is not having a great day, and Kelce is hurt, his arms are hurting. So I think it would be great. Yes, will it happen? It's like flipping a coin at this point. We
Well,
won't
they
know
helped us
till
last
training.
year, and we didn't have the greatest group. We didn't have an all-star group last year, and we didn't have, other than Kelsey, we didn't have one guy on our team.
Yes,
that
but we
was
had a
considered-
proven receiver come in though, who's been in the league for a few years.
Oh, I
Yeah,
has
agree with
put up
that.
consistency.
Was a quality guy. I mean,
He
was
was.
almost
I'm
a
not
1,000
saying he's
yard
not.
receiver.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
not
would love
saying
to
he's
have
not.
another sort of version of that solid piece to come in and be another staple in that wide receiver room.
But
Because
D-Hop is far and above more than what Juju Smith-Schuster was.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's
Well, if I
blows
can get a
with-
better version of that,
Mhm.
are you kidding me? Hell yeah, dude.
But we're not going to get him for that kind of money. I mean, it's just not going to. I like what this said. He said the only reason I don't want D-Hop is because I think not having him makes the coaching staff do some more creative things to make sure the receivers are all involved. And I kind of agree with that because we are a true spread offense. And when you bring in a guy that is going to be your quote unquote Tyreek Hill,
Mhm.
you may have an issue with that.
Well, let me say this. For the last 2 years, I have been banging the table for the Chiefs to bring guys like OBJ. And this is my reason. I'm going to say it again. It's not going to hurt. It's only going to elevate. You cannot double team everyone if you bring a D-Hop. If you have D-Hop, Kelsey, a Rashee Rice, and a Pacheco, and a couple other guys on the field that have been proven playmakers, defense will be like, who do we double team? Is zone going to work? Is man's going to work? Kelsey knows where to run into the zones and finds the sweet spot. D-Hops can basically outrun anyone in man-to-man. KT can take anyone's ankles. It's only going to help this team. And it's going to help elevate the play in each and every one of those around them to where Justin Ross could possibly eat. Justin Watson can eat. All these other guys. I just believe if they can get him, it's only going to make things better offensively. And I know I wanted for the Chiefs to get guys like OBJ in the years past, but it's at the point where OBJ, he has 2 knee injuries. I have more belief feeling I can put my stake into guys such as a D-Hop.
Okay, well, I agree with you on that perspective, but I also look at it from a financial standpoint. And if we're going to restructure Chris Jones, kind of similar to what went on last year, we sat on a lot of money last year for a long period of time.
But why? We didn't even spend any of it.
What's that?
They didn't really spend any of that money.
I understand, but you need that money in case you need to
did
bring
buy
somebody
Tony for
in.
Kadarius Toney.
And that money carries over too.
It does.
I
roll
mean,
over.
people forget that money does carry over. So
Yeah.
when you're if you
It
think
just
about it, you
seems the Chiefs are always at a deficit with this rollover money, in my opinion. It's like, well,
well, they
move
weren't
could've
at a
been made.
deficit this year. They did a pretty good
What
job.
I mean
but-
is that you would think if they brought more money rolling over, they would have been in a better position. Now, granted, bonuses get reached and all those other things. That probably help with that. I just was hoping at a certain point they could make more of a splash move. Now, will they? I don't know. They're in the
I look
business
at
of
it
getting
from
guys
like,
for the
okay,
cheap.
we've got so many guys to re-sign next or to put on contracts next year. You got 2 interior offensive linemen that need to be signed. You can't let those guys go. If you're going to let those guys go, you might as well just say, okay, fuck it, Mahomes, you don't get protected. You know, there's other guys out there that we have to sign. We got Nick Bolton. We got all these guys that are going to come up on contract pretty soon, and they're not going to get rid of Nick Bolton. They may get rid of Willie Gay, but Nick Bolton's not going anywhere. If they want to keep a Snead, which would be smart for them to do, I mean, I can't say they will or they won't right now, but it'd be a really smart idea if they did. Because you need that depth in the cornerback room. We've went with 4 before, and we know what that turned out like. You know, we got lucky one season, and we went the entire season with 4 corners total on our roster, and none of them got injured. It was pure luck on our side. It just is what it is. But I don't see why you would spend the money if you can restructure Chris Jones, put it into a couple of other quality players that may not be a D-Hop name, but can get the production, kind of like what we did with Tyreek Hill. We got rid of Tyreek, quote unquote, most dangerous wide receiver in the league, probably top 2, top 3 in the league. We got rid of him, but we filled that with quality players for a lot less money and kept money on the books. If we do that this year and we restructure him and keep $5 to $8 million floating all season long, we carry that money over, then we don't have to worry so much about who we're going to re-sign next year or how we're going to re-sign them. Because we got 3 or 4 guys next year that we have to put on a contract. We don't have a choice. It just is what it is. So I'm kind of looking at it from a financial standpoint. Do I want to give a 31-year-old wide receiver that just came off a season-ending injury $12, $15 million for one season when I can give two above or average wide receivers that can fit within this offense, give them $7 million total, and keep that other money to roll over, I'd probably go that route just to make sure we're keeping the guys that we have on our team.
And I will say this, even and people may not agree with what I'm going to say. Even the Patriots did made splash moves that were kind of unorthodox, and it kind of did work. I just
Well, they did with Randy Moss and lost the Super Bowl, but I mean,
yeah, but it helped elevate the offense to something we've never seen before.
well, that is true.
I would just like them to see up the ante and have a little bit more stability, because we don't know what's going to happen, what's going to play out. And I do agree with you. It's good to prepare for the future, but monetary concerns. But I feel like there comes a point where you can't be so frugal for so long. You got to take a little bit of something here and there. And we haven't seen that. Like normally Veach likes to do things such as trade a 6th or 7th round pick for a former first round player and bring him in. Now he hasn't done that as of late. Now maybe he'll do that with Chase Young. You never know. Or you could do something like this, maybe saying like maybe they'll trade Willie Gay. I would like for something to happen. I am just a little bit concerned just with the wide receiver room and how they're going to perform.
How many we got? What, 11 wide receivers right now? Is that right?
I believe so. Probably 12 or 13.
11, 12 wide receivers right now. And if you look at it, I mean, we know John Ross probably won't make the team. He'll probably be on a practice squad, if anything. Cornell Powell, I don't even know if he's still here or not, but if he is,
he's here. He's been on the practice squad every single season.
And he's going to stay on there. Yeah, he's going to stay there. He's not going to go anywhere. I feel like Justin Ross is going to make this team. We got Watson. We've got guys out there that can really make a splash if we give them the. I mean, who was that other wide receiver we brought in?
Richie James.
Richie James.
I make my points clear on what I think about Richie James.
I think it was a great acquisition, and those are the type of guys that you bring in, and you say, okay, are they going to fit within this system? We pay them relatively decent, but not break the bank, and be able to look 2 years down the line or a year down the line and make sure that we keep Mahomes protected. Because we know that nobody else in this league, there's 31 other teams out there that do not have Patrick Mahomes or even a version of him. He makes everybody better. So that's why they don't necessarily run after all the big name players, because he makes the guys that you've never heard of better. And I think that's why, in my opinion, I don't really feel like it's a big, huge thing to have or to spend that kind of money on D-Hop at 31. I just don't feel like it's a smart move, but that's just me. If they end up doing it, that's on them, and that's great. If that's if they can figure out a way of making it work and also consider the following season and who they have to sign that following season, more power to them.
I think if a Super Bowl ring's in the vicinity for the Chiefs, like I think it's been for the last 5-6 years, I think he can cut. I think they can work something out where he comes down a little on their asking price. If he doesn't, wipe your hands clean. You do go what you got, and you just deal with it.
Now he doesn't have a ring, right?
No, he's played for Houston and Arizona.
He doesn't have a divisional round.
I don't even know if he has a playoff win.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Deshaun Watson whenever they beat the Bills.
Wild
card game before they played the Chiefs.
Right.
Arrowhead. Yep, 24-0.
Here's what here's the last thing that I'll say about this. I don't, like I said earlier, a 1-year deal isn't going to hurt anybody. Mm-hmm. But before any of this happens, whether it's extending, any of the other guys on the roster or signing somebody new, this Chris Jones contract has to get done. Now, exactly. I'm still confident that it gets done. We know that deadlines make deals, and the reports coming out from multiple sources has been it's going to get done before training camp. Like we brought up earlier, we're still a week away. There's plenty of time to get done. So, before any move gets done, and even if they don't sign anybody before training camp, I still think they bring in a veteran defensive pass rusher. But before you do any of that, you have to re-sign Chris Jones. You have to extend Chris Jones and lower his cap hit because it sits at just under $30 million, and that's not sustainable for this year, especially because we know Brett Veach likes to make moves during training camp and in the middle of the season, whether it's signing, Chiefs Super Bowl champion Terrell Suggs,
yep,
or going out and making trades in the middle of the year to bring in guys like Kadarius Toney. So this contract does need to get done before any of these other dominoes fall. And I'm
100% confident that's going to get done.
Yeah, a week is a long time.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
then
to be
we've
done by
talked
Friday?
about this on past shows.
Well, technically, it doesn't have to be because they said
No.
before training camp. But does that mean before?
That could be an hour before.
Or that could mean before he gets up there. So
Yeah.
it could be even longer than just. So let's say hypothetically, it's not done before next Wednesday. I'm still not going to freak out because they could have always said that it was before he goes up to training camp, and I would believe them there too.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think the Jones contract gets done.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the day. It's 24 hours prior at 4 p.m. Eastern time is what is. I think that's the rule. It may have changed, but that used to be the rule. It's going to get done before then. We've talked about this on prior shows, and we've heard that it's going to get done right before training camp, and it will get done. It's not. It has to get done. First of all, they're not going to let him go, and he's not going to hold out. If they don't get it done, and they're definitely not going to pay him $30 million.
I mean,
so
he still has, he's under contract for this year.
Mm-hmm.
I understand,
So
but they're not going to
playing.
give. They have to give him $30 million if he plays. If they don't make a move right now, they have to give him $30 million, and that's not going to happen. So, I feel like I'm almost 100% confident this deal gets done before training camp. And
Yeah.
So. But we've talked about this for weeks on end about when we heard this was going to get done, and this is now it's coming out from everybody. But we've been talking about this for weeks. It was going to be right before training camp. It is what it is.
There was another question in the chat here. Cheese Lives asked about Nick Jones making the roster. I think so.
Yeah.
That he makes the roster. Look, I know he was a late cornerback pick,
Seventh
but
rounder, I
just look at
believe.
what Kansas City has done with their late round corner picks. You got to carry corners are like wide receivers. You got to carry like 6 of them during the season. If you're looking at the depth chart, Nick Jones is probably the 6th corner on the roster, which is just sort of barely in that range. I think he's valued also for his punt return skills. Look, Kadarius Toney is currently listed as the Chiefs punt returner. That's not happening. You don't put your number 1 wide receiver as your punt returner. Okay, we saw that when Tyreek Hill was here. As soon as he became the number 1 wide receiver, he didn't take punts anymore. So Sky Moore, I don't think they give him that responsibility anymore as he gets bumped up in the depth chart. So then you're talking about guys like Nico Ramingo, who I had the Chiefs. I said the Chiefs should have drafted. They ended up taking him as an undrafted free agent, but he's so far back on the depth chart. I would be surprised if he makes the roster. And one of the things that they talked about with Nick Jones is his ability to take punts and kickoffs.
Yeah.
So I think that
And you're not going to see Pacheco back there doing kick returns either. So.
Yeah, just don't put your starters shouldn't be taking special team snaps. So I think Nick Jones is mostly going to be used as a special teams guy, but in a pinch he can play corner. So I think just for that, Nick Jones makes the roster.
Hey, fun fact. I don't know if anybody knew this, but that pissed Tyreek Hill off.
What, that he was taken off the punt returns?
He was yanked off the punt returns.
You're talking about injury risk and all that.
It's common practice.
It is. And
it happened to AB. It's happened to all these other guys. It's common practice. They are protecting the investment.
I know, but I'm just telling you, it pissed him off. He wanted to stay on. He wanted to do both. He wanted to, solidify his speed or solidify something. I really don't know what his whole deal was, but that was part of his contract with Miami. If anybody ever looked at it, his contract is he can return punts as a wide receiver. That was in his contract. So that was one of the main things he wanted to accomplish when he moved on. So, and he got it because he did return a couple of punts last year. And if I think it was his 3rd season with the Chiefs when he was his 3rd season. He returned a few punts, but it wasn't after that. It kind of just cut down to nothing. I think maybe was it 2019? He might have returned a punt or two, but that was really about it. There wasn't any more after that. So, anyway, moving on. What was the last thing we want to talk about, Quentin? You had something.
A certain super fan got arrested.
Oh yeah, that gave me
buried the lead there.
Can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
Now let me ask you something, and this goes for everybody in the chat too.
Remember, it's all allegedly. We don't get
It's,
sued.
everything's
by person.
allegedly, but allegedly, how fucking stupid do you have to be caught in the city that you were a fan of, that you started your whole criminal career at, and then busted out of your fucking ankle bracelet and got caught in KC by the KC FBI? How stupid. I mean, honestly, you got to be the dumbest bastard on the planet to get. I mean, you might as well have just walked up to the FBI building and sat down on the step.
Well,
Yeah,
I would say this. Go ahead, Quentin.
He was caught. He was caught in California, which is where he's originally from.
But it was the Kansas City FBI that
And it was
got
the
him.
Kansas City. Yeah, he got transferred here to Kansas City. And I think today he was in court.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I haven't seen any reporting coming out of court, and I didn't do. I had to go to work today, so I didn't.
Now,
do
are you
any,
sure
like,
he was
law
caught
and
in
order.
California?
Yeah, they said it was caught in California.
Yes.
Okay.
Now the amount of money that he was able to
Oh my goodness.
it was reported that they found, and this is just what they found.
Mhm.
So there's more, that they found over $1 million, and that he was laundering money through artwork and through local casino chips like Argosy Casino and all that.
Mhm.
He was like buying high value casino chips, and yeah, man,
He had a lot,
Okay, let me ask
specifically
you.
in bank accounts. He had like 4 or 5. Yeah,
Well, here's
they say he
another
had
thing.
one at least. Some that had 100. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Okay, well, here's another fucking scenario. So you got all this cash, well over $1 million. Let's just say you had $2 million. We don't really know, but we know it was over $1 million. If he was actually in California, you could drive across to Arizona and walk behind a guy's house in Yuma, Arizona, and you're in Mexico. Do you know how far $1 million will take your ass in Mexico?
okay, this may surprise you, JP, but I'm not what you would call a criminal mastermind. So I'm
not either, but I think about that kind of
and this
shit.
isn't even allegedly. Okay, this is just fact. I also personally have never robbed a bank and laundered my money through casinos. Okay.
Okay, well, I haven't either. But
So
my
if my
point is,
FBI/CIA agent is listening right now, I promise you, Scout's honor, I have never robbed a bank and laundered my money through casinos. Okay.
my point is, if you're smart enough to do that for that long and get away with it, how fucking ignorant are you to one? Okay, if you were caught in California, that's where you're originally from. They're going to look for you there. Why would you not take that cash and go to Mexico? Get
Again,
your
we
ass
don't
in.
know what he was thinking, and I have nothing to say.
I mean, I watched.
No,
my wife is
I-
like a crime show fanatic. She watches all this shit. So I'm looking at these guys and I'm thinking, okay, there's guys that have gotten away with shit for 30, 40 years. They go to another country. They live large. They're sitting on a beach, sipping Coronas next to Snoop Dogg. They're doing all this cool ass shit. And they get away with 30, 40 years. Some of them die before they get caught. This dumb bastard goes back to his old neighborhood or then hangs out in and
Again,
I know
we
for a
don't- we
fact
don't-
one of the reports that I read
Mhm.
said he was in Kansas City. Not because he was brought back to Kansas City. He was actually in Kansas City.
Mhm.
Well,
Well-
after he cut off his ankle bracelet.
Yeah, here's the thing, and this will be it. I won't give any more advice to any, except I see our listeners. I see our listeners would never be criminals. Okay, so this isn't. I don't even know why I'm saying it, but personally, in a world where some reason a bank was robbed and my name was put on it, and I got, I don't know, like $350,000 from said bank, I'm not robbing another bank. That's it.
No.
I completed my goal. Okay, a $350K. That'll buy you a decent house here in Kansas City or anywhere in the Midwest. Okay,
Or some
and
land.
I'm good. Okay, I'll keep living my life. All right, I'll buy my fancy Patrick Mahomes painting that this guy had that he bought at a charity event. All right, and that's it. We're done. Denzel Washington. That's it. We're moving on with my life.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Man. I guess
Are
it's no
so
different than
stupid
it's no
and
different
smart
than
at
these
the same
sports
time.
players, bro.
It's
They
crazy.
get greedy. When you get greedy, bad shit happens, and that's just the way it is. He got greedy. I mean, he got away with it for I don't know how many years he's been. I mean,
Multiple.
It's been
Multiple
saying he's
years,
done it
but-
I think the article was saying pre-Mahomes there. It should like 2014, 2015.
okay, so why was he living in a car then?
Again, I don't know. I'm confused. And I will tell you this, the last thing I'll lead off before we end the show. We will probably get a book or a documentary within the next year. So when
Oh,
we
he's
do
gonna
that,
get
we will have
paid.
to do a breakdown.
For the record,
Mhm.
I tweeted at Netflix and I asked them to do a mini documentary on it.
Okay.
So when when the Netflix documentary comes out and it's like 6 episodes long and they're all an hour apiece, I will binge watch that in one day. And I want my name in the credits. That's it. I don't. It needs
But
to
you
be
got
at the
him
very
paid
end.
again.
Like idea by Quentin Morris. Okay.
But you
That's
got
it.
him
That's all I
paid
need.
again.
I don't need any financial like benefit from Netflix. I just need you to say idea by. All right.
You
That's
just
all.
made the man more money, is what you did.
Well,
Because Netflix ain't gonna. I mean, he ain't gonna do it for free. He's got to
He
sign
doesn't
off on
have to
that
do.
shit.
He doesn't have to do like. They don't have to pay him for it. Plus, he's in prison. They can pay him in like ramen noodles and honey buns.
oh, okay.
Hey man, they got commissary.
All
They
right.
can get him some nice shit. I know guys that were sitting in there with carpet TVs and air conditioners, so they had cable and shit. You never know what he could buy, allegedly. But regardless, he's an ignorant bastard to get to. I don't know. If I'm cutting my ankle bracelet off and I got that kind of cash sitting in banks, sitting in
They
my
were
car,
monitoring, though, I guarantee you.
I
They're monitoring
guarantee
all
him.
that stuff.
Oh, I'd have been gone in a minute. I'd have been gone in a minute. You wouldn't have
I'm
seen
sure
my
your
ass
wife
again.
would love to hear that.
She can hear it right now. I'll be gone in a minute. So,
All right.
Anyway, moving on. Well, this was kind of a fun show, and I don't know what kind of time he's going to get. I mean, armed robbery is. I mean, if he was out here, he'd get probation, but unless you got shot, then you get a casket. But in some states, they prosecute you for things like that. California, Nevada, just not one of those places you really get a big. I mean, most guys out here get slaps on the wrist for that kind of shit. So, who knows what he's going to get? It depends on how many states he gets prosecuted in.
Because like if he got caught in California,
Allegedly.
but you know he did the one he got arrested for the last time was in Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
but he's been the FBI says that he's potentially done. There was a
Oh, wait a
rep
minute.
on Twitter that I don't
I'm
remember. One of the
so
local
glad.
TV channels tweeted out an image of where his cell phone pinged. And
I'm so
it's
glad
like-
you said that. I am, because I know Caleb will remember this. When he was first arrested, or when he was on the run originally, we talked about this, and we had heard that he
It was deeper than what
it was
people thought
deeper
it
than
was.
what Oklahoma was.
Because
He basically robbed a bank in every city that he
Mhm.
traveled to that the Chiefs were in.
Because I remember seeing an old article, and I think I told you, I don't know if I told you, Quentin, but it basically extended back prior, because I think there was a Chiefs versus like 49er. Basically, there was some game out in the West Coast where
San
the
Francisco
similar
game, yeah.
prior and all that stuff. pretty
One in
much.
Tennessee.
So.
He hit banks everywhere.
So
So then they came on and they said, oh, no, they only got him on one bank. That's not true. The local news said it. In TV, the radio stations, the local AM radio stations said that. No, they had him on multiple different bank robberies in multiple different states. I mean, look, man, you jack around in Tennessee, armed robbery, that'll get you 80 years. So it really depends on how the FBI decides they want to do this. That they want.
I mean, it's
you
going to
know.
be federal. It's
Mhm.
going to be multiple federal felonies because he crossed state lines.
yep.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you got multiple, like life sentence at this point because of the amount of crime. Because it's not just
Mhm.
one. But we'll just have to wait and see. We had to at least bring that up. So other than
Well, I
that,
hope
don't
they
got
take the
anything
money
else.
I hope they take the money that he had and actually use it to pay for his stay in jail, because every time somebody sits in a prison cell, especially federal, it's about $60,000-$80,000 a year that taxpayers
Mm.
pay out for them to sit in jail. So it'd be nice to see if that money would actually go to something good, whether it be pay for him or go to a charity or some of you know
Yeah.
somebody needs it. I don't care if it's a Ronald McDonald's house. Somebody needs it. I mean, somebody needs that money besides him. Yeah, I mean, hell, I could use it.
Dibs. Can I call dibs?
Yes,
Hey man,
but
as
you
long
can
as
be
you
the
split
first
it,
in
you could
line.
dib away
At
as long as
FBI Kansas City. Dibs.
yeah, 33rd and a third. I mean, there's three of us. So whatever. But regardless, it's been a fun show. We are going to have somebody on, I believe, Thursday. We were going to do it tonight, and things just got kind of jumbled up. But we are going to have a guy on Thursday that is a Miami Dolphins fan. I believe it's either going to be this Thursday or next Tuesday. And he believes that Tua would have been the MVP last year, barring injuries. So we really have to get him on to get his thinking and his mindset behind that statement. Because I have it and I screenshotted it just to bring it up, and I'll post it on the show when we do it. But I want to know where his mindset was to think that Tua is an MVP caliber quarterback when he needs every weapon in the world to make him good. That's all I want to know. With that being said, we will probably talk to you guys again on Tuesday with a guest, or Thursday for sure with a guest. But if he's not on Thursday, he will definitely be on next Tuesday. We want to thank Foco Sports for sponsoring the show. And make sure you go on to foco.com, check out our pinned tweet. We have a giveaway going on. You can win a really cool ceramic, one-of-a-kind bobblehead. I think it's the MVP bobblehead or the Super Bowl trophy bobblehead, one of the two. Make sure you jump on, follow the rules, and you'll be good to go. Let me see. We got one more comment. What's it saying? Great show, guys. Thanks, man. We appreciate it, buddy. We will talk to you again later on. Peace out, everybody.